I'm ready.
Welcome to the podcast, Rach. I am really looking forward to you sharing two very, what sounds like interesting stories, which I don't actually know a whole heap of the background of. So looking forward to diving into that and having you share everything about what you do with your life today.
Thank you so much for having me. And hello. Yes, my name is Rachel Dunn. And I've got lots of missions that I'm excited to share the wisdom that I've collected. So I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
Great. So can you tell us a little bit more about who you are and what you do?
So I love to make a difference. So I am tied into what we do in our business, as well as making a difference with animals. I'm very much an animal lover and an earth warrior, I guess you'd say. So I really want to help shift consciousness around animal communication, and also help women to make standout video content that makes a difference in the world. So that's what we do in our business. So yeah.
Interesting. Can you tell us a little bit more about the animal communication?
Well, the animal communication is an interesting one. Because I've run a video business I had a video business for a long time. I've been in the video space for 30 years. And I really wanted to make music videos. And I found that what happened was I reached meltdown point. I think everybody in their business at some point, they have a lesson to learn. And mine was that I was just giving. And I found myself just completely melting down. I didn't know if that was an industry I wanted to be in. So I guess the animal communication, this book dropped out in a bookshelf, as it does sometimes. And I'm like, animal communication? Like, what's that about? And I started to read that animals communicate in pictures and the instincts. And I started to learn about that. And I had a very powerful lesson from a possum that lived near our house. And I learned some strong lessons about animal communication, which set me to find out that I had this image came to me one day when I was in that meltdown. It was an image of an elephant taking a selfie. And now, if you look online, you will never see this image. So I still haven't seen it to this day. And I realized that it was not my image. It was an image from an animal. And I set off to explore that, which is why I've making a documentary about animal communication.
All right. Okay. So we probably need to backtrack a little bit. This dark time that you went through, your crisis point, what was that?
Well, the crisis point, what happened was I was diagnosed with narcolepsy, which is a sleeping disorder. And I found that I have a rare symptom where if an emotion comes up like laughing or a severe emotion, I collapse. And I've held back my emotions forever, because this was probably in my 20s. So about 20 years I've had narcolepsy, and I was put on medication. I was put on Dexamphetamine, which is a huge, upper. And I thought, great, I can work all the time. I don't have to sleep. And I just worked and worked and worked. And then what happened from that was my superpowers of hearing, instincts, paranoia, all of these things started to compound. And I found that I was working all the time, and my medication I upped and upped and upped, because I became, I guess, desensitized to it. And so I had a complete meltdown, and I thought I was going nuts.
So the narcolepsy is when you fall asleep spontaneously?
It's when you fall asleep. A lot of people that have it, you'll see goat videos on YouTube where goats just are running around and instantly they drop over or they fall asleep. It's when your brain goes into REM during the day. But what happens with cataplexia, which is what I have, which is, the brain is triggered at certain times. And with emotion, for me, if it's really strong, like if it's laughing, I can collapse on my left side. So I have learnt to numb down my emotions so I don't feel that.
So now, do you still have to numb down your emotions?
I would say I have, because what happened was the medication, the doctors said, look, I'm going to put you on this and I'm going to put you on antidepressants so you don't have these. And I've put on this multiple of medications to dumb down my emotions, but I could feel and I could laugh normally without feeling that. but the side effects were just ridiculous. And I just knew that I had to get off those tablets because of what they were doing to me. And so I decided to stop all tablets, and I got much, much better. It was suppressing my healing with the medication. So I took radical steps to just go cold turkey. And everyone's like, no, what are you doing? You can't do that. And I'm just like, no, this is not good for me. I cannot keep going like this because of the paranoia. And a lot of people that have narcolepsy, I've shared my story with them, and I have had a lot of flack from going off medication.
Yeah, right. How long ago did you go off them?
I would say it would be about 15 years now.
Oh, okay.
So, and I don't nap during the day, but I do go to sleep extremely quickly. Like 2 minutes, I'm in deep sleep.
Yeah, I think I do that.
It's a really good thing to have. I'm very grateful for it.
I'll often listen to something like, oh, I only got 2 minutes in.
Exactly. I think everyone does these days.
And so you sleep well when you do sleep?
Yeah, I do really well.
You wake up normally?
Yep, wake up normally. I used to just have naps all the time, and I used to not be able to drive. Well, actually, driving is the hardest thing for me. If it's 20 minutes on a highway and I'm bored, my brain just wants to go to sleep. Yeah. So I find that I have to have at least 2 things going on for me to focus on, for me to keep awake.
What do you focus on when you're driving?
Well, my partner drives most of the time, especially on these long highways where we live. So music, singing, I will have a couple of coffees before I drive anywhere that's longer than 15, 20 minutes. So yeah.
Yeah. So you got diagnosed when you were 20. How long do you think you had this for?
I don't know. Apparently,
are you born with it?
Well, they say that it turns up in your 20s. So I don't know. I have a feeling, because I've never been able to express my emotions. And that's something really interesting, that if I'm angry, I don't scream, I don't yell. And also laughing, like I think laughing for me, that's when I found out I had it, because my partner and I were laughing. We'd just been on a date, and I collapsed on the floor, and I just thought, oh my God, I couldn't move. It's like you're paralyzed for a moment. So it's scary.
Your left side.
Mostly my left side, but my whole body can go into just, you freeze.
Yeah.
So
when you first had that happen, you laughed, you collapsed, what was going through your mind?
I was scared that I was having a stroke. I was so terrified. I didn't know what was going on. My whole body shut down. It was just very weird. So they looked at the doctors. Luckily, my GP, her husband, she talked about the case with her husband, and he said, send her to the sleep clinic, which is where they did studies and monitored my sleep at night, monitored my sleep all day. And they'd say to me, look, Rachel, have a nap. We're going to give you every 2 hours. We're going to put you to sleep, see how long it takes you to go to sleep. And I would be asleep, within 2 minutes. And I'd go to bed. I'm like, I'm not tired. I'm not even going to sleep now. And sure enough, they're like, turn around to press play on the machine, and I'd be already asleep. So
yeah, right. Yeah. I'm always curious, like when people say this thing came on at this time, or I had this injury, or this disease state affected me at this age, like, can you make any correlation as to why it may have triggered in your 20s?
Look, I think it wasn't long after I met my life partner, actually. And I've always wondered, is there something there that, of course, when you're showing emotion and you've met the one that I'm with now too, 18 years later, was that any reason? Or is it genetic? Is it something that I had a grandfather with severe epilepsy? And is it some kind of form of that? I don't know.
And then when you say that you've never been great at expressing your emotions, why do you think that is? Is it the upbringing that you had?
I don't know. My mum and dad had a great upbringing. Mum's always excited, and she shows emotion. My brother shows emotion, but my dad's probably more reserved. But he's also, in bands when I was growing up, and showing emotion through music. So I don't know where it's come from. I just think that Yeah, I have had trouble expressing myself, but since Michael and I, my partner, have been together, I certainly have been. He said I'm much more expressive. I'll run around the house, I'll be excited. But anger is probably something I don't feel very often, or if I get angry, I take it all inside and it becomes stress.
Mm.
And that's something that I don't really get angry, but if I do, at times I've gone, I just love to scream, but I don't.
Yeah. What are you worried about? What will happen if you scream?
I don't
Have you
know.
tried?
I have in my pillow.
Yeah.
And it's probably going to, well, someone said to me, oh, wouldn't it be great on the Sydney Harbour Bridge for you to just like great scream out at the top of your lungs out at the bridge? And that would be amazing to do that. But it's part of me is just like, no, I can't do that.
Oh, it's actually one of the techniques. It's so easy. It seems silly that you would prescribe it, but it is one of the things that I start my clients off with. And when it's just like all too overwhelming and you can just see it wanting to burst out of them, I'm like, just try a scream. But it is amazing at how hesitant some people are and how much judgment they cast on themselves. They're looking out, because I say do it in the car. It's a good way to keep you awake. You can do it in the
Yes.
car, but then they're looking around like, who's
That's
watching
me.
me? I'm like,
I think I've done that.
no one's gonna hear you.
And what happens when people do that?
Yeah. So when they finally get the scream, it's just such a variety. Like some people are so liberated by it. Other people, the scream comes out because firstly, people think, oh, it's the anger that needs to come out. I'm like, don't even try and predict what's going to come out of you. It's that emotional, physical, there's a little bit of a physiological shift that happens when you scream. And sometimes people just surprise themselves. They're like, wow, I felt the anger and I felt it in a different way, like the heat in my body or whatever. It just took over me. Some people, very quickly, it shifts to sadness. And I do find that anger usually overwhelms the sadness. So you shift the anger maybe in a scream, not that a scream has to be angry, and then the sadness, the tears flow, the sobbing flows, and people are just surprised, like, I had no idea that I had that sadness inside of me. And then other people who are a little bit hesitant when they do it, they're like, oh my gosh, it was pathetic, a squeak came out of me, nothing came out of me. And they observe all of the self-judgment that they have on themselves. But most people are determined, and I say, look, just do it every day for 3 weeks, work your way up to it, realize that you're not going to die when you do a scream, and just see what happens. It's almost like we're attached to this outcome of what the scream will do for us, that it will shift our anger, it'll shift our sadness, it'll make us feel amazing. And we never know what it will do, but you don't know unless you try.
I will do that. And instantly what came up for me then was, I don't want anyone to hear me. I'm going to have to do it between the driveway and the road on the dirt road and say that no one can see me or hear me.
Yeah,
What's
you
that
live
about?
off the grid, don't you? So you
But
can just
neighbors can hear.
Yeah, it's fascinating. And I do often get people when I'm describing things like, just tune in. Where are you feeling this in your body? And I'm just curious about like why your left side of your body gets affected and why not your right side. And we can go into that if you're open to it a little bit later.
A lot of things happen on my left, so it's really interesting.
Yeah, fascinating. So yeah, I encourage you to do it. And there's always a few rules that you follow when you're doing some emotional release work. It's that you don't hurt yourself, you don't hurt others, and you don't go and break things unless you're prepared to clean up the mess. So like smash a plate if you're prepared to clean up the mess and it's not going to hurt anyone else.
I can scream in the car. That's not going to hurt anyone else.
Oh, I'm looking forward to seeing how this goes.
Yes, me too.
Although I have to say, with that narcolepsy and you having strong emotions, is maybe driving in the car at the same time is not a good idea.
Okay, I'll park because we are on a dirt road and it's, so I won't be on the main road doing it.
Oh, cool. Okay, so anger. What about your parents with their anger expression? Because sometimes it is that they didn't know how to express anger or they were really explosive with it. And so you actually fear expressing it.
I think it's a fear around anger because I never liked being told off. Like it was almost like I would go into shutdown if somebody said, Rachel, what are you doing in that voice or something? it was just whether it's a teacher, whether it was anyone, I would instantly just went, oh my God, what have I done wrong? And I'd go into this self, like, what have I done wrong mode. So I think anger, I don't like people getting angry. And yeah, it's interesting. I'm just thinking about any situations now. If I have seen anger expressed towards other people, I get really, that makes me angry. Or if there's cruelty or injustice to things, that's when my anger really stirs. And I feel like I could really do, I could do some damage.
Yeah. Well, that's my thing. It's like empty your cup out so that all of a sudden you don't have something just like switch in you and you flip into a rage.
Yeah.
So you had your meltdown, you were on all these medications. Is dexamphetamine, is that addictive?
Yeah, it is. It's like speed. Mm-hmm. So it's a tablet form of upper. And so there'd be little tablets. I'd go through 100 tablets a month. And so I would feel like a drug dealer going to the chemist because they'd keep it in a safe. I'd go there with my prescription and my doctor would just keep giving me more. And I would have, and it just kept, and because I worked so much, I just thought, this is great. I've got this perfect thing here that I can take tablets, I can get prescription, work my ass off, and I don't sleep. How awesome is that?
Yeah.
But it just, I was erratic. My energy was all over the place. I was scattered. I wasn't present. And I could really see that. I couldn't see that, but my mum and everyone around me said my personality changed on those tablets. So I became a different person.
Yeah. All right. So I just want to go into a little bit about what you do, but then come back to the animal communication and then the other health story that you have as well. So you got into the video industry at the age of 15?
I wanted to from the age of 15. I think when I left year 12, I decided not to go to uni. I thought, right, I'm going to get a job in TV because I know that's my path and I don't want to wait until I come out of uni. So I was kind of like, right, get straight in and then work your butt off to where you want to be, which was my philosophy back then. So that's what I did. And I got into TV pretty much at about 17, 18. Yeah.
So what does it look like, your work and what you do?
Now or back then?
Back then. I like to hear how
back then. Oh, back then I was, my first job was animating on a kids show for Molly Grubs, it was called. And then I worked the dungeon shift. So when that period shifted only 3 months, I worked from 4 a.m. till 1. Now that's where I think some crucial things happened because I, imagine being 18 and I was taking no-dos to start with to actually get to work. Not at the beginning, but halfway through, because I was doing it for about a year and a half, 4 a.m. starts. And that was really tough. So I'd put commercials to air at a TV station and they were noisy, horrible rooms with chemicals, loud noises. And you'd be basically putting commercials to air, hundreds of them. So it was not a glamorous job. And that was, I didn't want to be there. So I'm sure that had a really big effect to my sleeping patterns as well.
Yeah, right. And then, okay, you had your meltdown where you're just like, this is enough, and the book fell off the shelf.
Yes. And that happened, many years later when I was directing music videos for some of Australia's biggest names and directing a lot of iconic Australians. So I'd spent a long time having my own business and working in television. So I made it to that point, but I really didn't know how to get to that next level. And I was attracting a lot of negativity, especially with the medication. I just found that I was giving, and I was bullied and all these negative things were happening. But I know that it was because I was attracting it as well.
So you actually had the capacity to recognize that at the time?
No, I didn't. I do now.
Yeah.
But at the time, I'm just like, why is this happening to me? Why are all these terrible things happening to me? And amazing things too. I seem to have these superpower hearing. I could hear things in streets away that people would go, no, that's not right. And then they'd get a phone call. And I just had this weird, the tablets
amplified everything. Right. They amplified what you say, your instincts and
my hearing as well.
So can you still hear things?
I still hear things really well, but not like that. That was just, it was weird. It was, I can't explain it. It was just weird.
Yeah, right. Oh gosh, so many things to explore here. Okay, so yeah, you became a director, you were working, and everyone else could see what was going on. Did they tell you?
Look, they probably tried to. I would work all the time and I just would hardly have any sleep, and I just wasn't making enough of an income, even though I was working incredibly hard. And it got to the point where I moved into an office space that was not very good. I started, there was bullying and a lot of things. It just compounded where I had to leave this place in the middle of the night. It was mafia were involved. A lot of things were involved. And I just thought, no, I've got to get out. Yeah, so right. We left, and I started to feel like I was losing it, because there was one point I was crouched down by the toilet and I was shaking, and I was home alone, and I felt like I could hear footsteps in the backyard. And I rang a couple of people and I said, I'm hearing things. Am I going nuts? I think I'm going crazy. And what happened was I actually remember going to the front yard, and I called someone to come over and help me, because I didn't know if I was imagining or if it was real. I wanted someone to justify what was happening. And so what happened was they came, actually it was Michael's mum, she came with me, and there was somebody running through the yard. So there was somebody there in our backyard that was a burglar. So it was, again, it's this thing I was trying to justify. I was going mad, but things were happening. So it was really hard for me to grasp reality. So I had to stop all medication and really just stop doing work and find out what I wanted, because I didn't know anymore.
Yeah, you just kind of got caught up in the rat race.
And I just thought, what is this? Who am I? I don't know. And I don't want to do this anymore. I don't know if I even want to even pick up a camera anymore.
Yeah.
So,
but you are still in that industry.
Oh, absolutely. And from that moment, then when I stopped and I just gave myself space, and then I could just say, look, what can I do to make a difference in the world that uses my skills? And that's the one question I just kept asking. And then the elephant image came.
Yeah. So did you get any external guidance from anyone else?
No.
Just all came to you.
Yeah.
So can you tell me a little bit more about the elephant?
Sure. And at that time, with the elephant image that came to me, I just thought to myself, it just inspired me. I just thought, what is this? I started to research, and then I just thought, oh my God, I have to go and find out. There's an elephant somewhere that wants to learn video. And I'm going to pack my bags and my camera, and I'm going to find that elephant. And I don't know where in the world it is, but I'm going to go. And so
you need to explain this a little bit. I'm lost.
Yes.
So what's this elephant going to do?
Well, the picture in my head was an elephant taking a selfie. And I thought to myself, knowing animal communication, that perhaps I had tapped into somewhere in consciousness, that this wasn't my idea, that I'd tapped into an idea or an elephant message or something. So when I started to research, I realized that elephants have incredible trunks. They can do anything, right? So I knew nothing about elephants. I just was compelled to go and find out if somewhere perhaps an elephant wanted to learn video, because that's the image that came to me. Right?
Right.
Nuts, I know. And I got on a plane with my camera gear, and I went, and I thought, I'm going to go to Thailand because that's close to home, and I'll see, let's just, start safe. And so the first elephant that I met was Peter, and he'd just finished filming a Samsung ad showing exactly the image that I had in my head.
Oh, right.
So funny how that happens.
Yeah.
And I realized then that the actual documentary was bigger than an elephant taking a photo.
So is that documentary, you filmed it all and you're putting it together?
I'm putting it together at the moment. It's been 7 years, and we've just been to Africa. And so I've worked with animal communicators traveling all around Africa, following elephant messages. So there's, it's an important documentary to shift consciousness and show people that you can listen to animals. They're talking to you all the time.
What are some key things that you learnt on this journey with elephants?
Well, the one thing was I stopped all medication when I went, because in Thailand I couldn't take my tablets, they're illegal. So I went cold turkey when I went. So I thought, right, what a good reason to go on this journey and heal when I have a project to do. So the one things I've learned, I guess, is follow your crazy ideas. I'm a big advocate for that. Following your intuition, but also that animals and elephants especially are healing. The incredible healing stories I heard about elephants. There'd be kids with autism and all kinds of things that send kids on a camp with elephants for 6 weeks. Every weekend, they'd come back and their communication was profound. They were able to speak. They were able to communicate. There was something that shifted when they worked with elephants, a little bit like horse therapy, I think. But yeah, there was people said to me that you could heal your headache when you put your head next to an elephant. I did test that and my headache disappeared. So there's a lot of, really crazy things I heard about as far as healing when it comes to elephants and their sound and their frequency and what they're here to do.
Wow. When's this going to come out?
Well, I'm working on it now. So I'm hoping by next year.
Okay, cool. Gosh, it must be quite a project to put together 7 years of work.
It is. Yes.
This is interesting. I've never heard of this. That's why I like to bring people like you on.
Good. Well, I love it too. It's good.
And so this is part of your healing journey, working with the elephants.
Absolutely. Yeah, I would say it is. It's all about healing, but it's all about giving them a voice, because when I went to go and make this doco, I was terrified of being on camera. And I realized that when I have a cause greater than myself, that I would speak. And that's where, when you're a voice for voiceless, you realize you are their voice.
Yeah.
So that's an important message to get across. And that's why I love helping women, especially to share their voice if they've felt hidden or felt trapped or invisible on video. That's why I'm really passionate to help them wherever I can to get out there.
Yeah. And that's a huge thing with most people that I work with who maybe want to get their message out there. Like I did it out of fear because I didn't know where my income was going to come from, but it was the best thing I ever did. But so many people that I think have such a unique and amazing message, but they're too scared to share it because of fear of judgment and criticism.
That's interesting. So you had the same thing happen to you with fear?
Yeah. But the fear is what drove me to create what I'm doing now. And thankfully it all went down well. I don't think I've really had any criticism. I don't want to manifest it, but I am in a place where the cause is bigger than anything else, that I know that it's worth standing up for.
I love that. When you fight for something, you know that you're on the mark. If you're not willing to stand up and speak for your cause is not great enough.
Yeah. So keep digging in.
Yeah.
I love that you managed to, I guess, work it out on your own.
Oh, there was no mentors back then and no camera confidence training. There's thousands now doing it, but that's always the way.
We'll get into the camera stuff in a minute, but you have another really interesting journey that just happened last year. So this is in regards to your health again. What happened?
Well, yeah, it was May last year. I found a lump during COVID on my left breast, which is the left side, right actually at the top. And I kept feeling it. I'm like, oh, it's a gland. Don't worry about it. It's all good. And then I'm just like, no, this feels different. Go and get it checked. Even though COVID, I thought, and I knew deep down that this was not normal, and I was freaking out. And I remember saying to Michael, okay, I've been thinking about this for a while. I'm freaked out. And then he touched it and is like, yeah, okay, go and get this checked. And I went to the doctor, and of course it was the last appointment on a Friday. And she's like, yeah, that does not feel right. And I'm like, okay. And she's like, we'll send you on Monday to get a biopsy. And I just said to her, Okay. And that whole process of finding out is, you just, your life flashes before your eyes. But I already knew. I thought, I know that this is something else. So I just thought to myself, now I'm going to arm myself. I'm going to start putting things in place now. Even I'm not going to wait to find the answer out if it's a tumor or not. So I started to implement chrisbeatcancer.com, which was an incredible resource for me going through this. All natural, all just educating myself around what I could do and not jumping to what the doctors said I should do.
Can you just repeat what that was?
It was chrisbeatcancer.com.
Oh, okay.
He healed stage 4 colon cancer about 12 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And just his protocols, I learned so much, and I've helped and shared this with a lot of other people since. And it's just incredible resource. It was the best $100 I spent on my health. And so, yes, it worked out that she called me just 5 minutes before we were due to do a webinar. And I was like, right, this is, it's a tumor, and, this is what's going on. So, yeah, it was a stage 2 lump. And so she said, look, it's important. So I had to think about what I wanted to do. And I went back there with my partner. And I was very adamant that I did not want to do chemo or radiation. I just made that decision very clearly. And even though, it was a very early stage, just something inside me said, right, get it out, go and get it operated on, and then heal. Give your body a chance to heal and measure the results so you can see if what you're doing is making a difference.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I did over. Everybody was nervous around me. They're like, oh, there's cases where people do that and they die. And it was very hard to find people that were on the alternative health path. So I found a couple of really amazing women that have healed themselves, and they're still here many, many, many years later, because I wanted to surround myself with people that had healed the way I wanted to heal. So I just shifted my complete lifestyle, all juice, water fasting, frequency healing, bought a Rife Machine. I did a lot of things to shift my health because I was depleted in every single vitamin D, vitamin B12. I had depleted everything. So, and I'm just taking a breath so you can speak.
Yeah, I'm good. Can I ask how old you were last year?
Yeah, 48.
You're 48?
Yeah, 49 actually. Yeah.
Wow, you do not look that old.
Good. I'm not that old, right?
So
don't feel it either.
That's definitely caught me by surprise. Obviously, we're talking on video, but everyone's going to be listening on audio, but they're probably going to go look at you now. You do not look like you're 48. You look like you're in your 30s.
Good.
How long did you leave the lump before you went and got it investigated?
Probably a month.
Mm-hmm.
So it was not long. I just kept this voice was there all the time, like, go to the doctor, go to the doctor, go to the doctor. And I learned later on that could have been, one of my team my late nana was saying that. So thank you. Mm-hmm. But, I'm really grateful I caught it really early, and it was still quite big. It was I think 5 centimeters. So it was quite large. But yeah, it was a hard decision because everybody I know that's been through breast cancer has gone the chemo and the radiation way. And the doctor said to me, look, why don't you want radiation? Most people don't want chemo. Why don't you want radiation? Because that's what she wanted to do. And I said, I want to know that what I'm doing is making a difference. Like, I can measure my own blood tests and see that what I am doing is going to shift the markers and the results. Just like marketing, you've got to measure to see if it's working. And so that's what I kind of applied to my own health. Like, I have to see the numbers, and if it's not moving, then I can make another assessment. But everyone's journey is so different in this.
Yeah.
We also live off the grid. We moved into a house where I started going into the garden, pulling out weeds, doing a lot of things in the garden, which I'm sure has also a huge effect on my healing. It feels this land is a healing place too. So
I'm curious, that month before you got investigated, can you just tell me what was going through your mind? Like, what were you hoping it was just going to go away? What went through
I
your
thought
mind?
it was my glands because I've had swollen lymph nodes before, and I thought it was just that time of the month. They're just, they flared up. I've got no family history of cancer, and I'm just like, mum's had that. I've had a biopsy before, but this felt different. It was in a different place. But that's what I questioned, because no one in our family has had it before. I just thought, well, it can't be me. Like, I'm healthy. I live in the bush. I work for myself. But at the same time, I feel that we work with our clients on a thing called a self-image, where you work out who it is you want to become. And I'd worked a year before on who I wanted to become in writing, and it wasn't showing up. I wasn't doing the work. I wasn't going to the gym and getting fit and looking after what I wanted to eat. And so I feel like it was a really good kick up the arse, because now I'm actually going to the gym 5 times a week. I'm doing boxing. I'm doing all these things that I wanted to do before, but it actually kicked me in the ass to do it.
Yeah, right. So can you tell us what healing modalities you went through and what insights you gathered on the journey?
Yeah, well, the first thing I did was go raw. I decided we learned a lot about juice fasting. So my partner was extremely supportive in whatever decision I wanted to make. So he would do juice fasting with me, and then we moved to water fasting. So we did a couple of water fasts, which were for 3 days. And I was really scared of doing water fasts because I have just felt like, well, that's nuts. Who can survive on water, right? But I found it was incredibly enlightening being on water for 3 days and just letting your body heal and just go to those bits that needed to heal. So what I did was I overdosed on nutrition. I found that I was completely deficient in so many vitamins that I had to get all those vitamins back up. And
Did you not eat very well previous to this?
I thought I did, but I think what's happened was I don't think I had enough nutrition, like enough greens, enough sun. It just had that compound effect where my immune system was completely depleted. So I just worked on getting those numbers up as well. And then I also bought a Rife Machine. Have you heard of a Rife Machine? It's a shamanic client of ours. She's been working with clients for years. So I really trusted what she'd done with clients before. So I bought a computer that has over 2,000 frequencies in this device. And I would sit there with frequencies on different parts of my body and dial in different frequencies to actually. No, you can't hear it. It's just a feeling in this coil. And the computer, the laptop's all set up. It cost me about $3,000, which we've still got for all other things that you can imagine that we can plug in and just work on our body ourselves at home on different frequencies. So I did that, as well as whatever came to my intuition and what I needed to do. Like one day I said to Michael, I've got to be around a horse. I don't know why. I have to be around a horse. Or like there were just things that I just thought, okay, I need to go and do these things, and I would do them instinctively.
What did you do with the horse? Did you buy a horse, or did you go see an equine healer?
It was just like a friend that had a few horses. We went out there for the day, and I just wanted to walk and pat, and that was just being around their energy.
Yeah, there is something about horses and their energy, isn't there? For sure.
And I'm not a horsey person, but I mean, I love all animals. But it's just, I just was listening to the things I needed to do to nourish myself. And I pulled back all of my coaching because I gave and gave and gave again. That's a very familiar pattern. Pulled back to one day, which was huge for me.
Yeah. What else did you do?
I did a lot of, I did some energy healing as well, and just journaled and wrote, and just really, I didn't want to go back into past. I just wanted to think about I went into what created how did this happen?
Yeah.
But yeah, and I think that's about it really. Just all diet, all just mindset, huge mindset around that. I didn't want that to be my story. That is not my story. That is not who I am.
Yeah. And then what's the outcome? 9 months later, is it?
Yeah, so I had a blood test a few times during that time, and the doctor said to me I think it must have been April. She just went, "You're all clear. Like there is no sign." I went and had an MRI because I have dense breast tissue. I wanted to make sure nothing was there, so I had an MRI and I looked at the blood test, and she went, "It's all clear." She said, phenomenal result, because she said most people do not do the work to shift things, but you have, and you should be really proud of what you've accomplished.
Yeah, so big lifestyle changes where you dropped back your work completely.
Yeah.
And you sort out a
Picking
few
back up
healers.
now, which I need to keep an eye on.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, how has it changed your perspective?
Do you know, and this is one thing that I'm starting to, I guess not, well, I am a little worried, is I'm starting to pick back up again, and I'm starting to go, well, okay, and I don't see the I guess the threat that it was. And I go, yep, I've done that. Right now, what's next? And people go, hold on a minute. Did you say you healed from cancer? And I'm like, oh yeah. I just kind of brush it off.
Did you celebrate?
Well, I did a bit. Yes, I did. We had some champagne, I'm sure. But I have just then gone, right now, let's just go to the next level. Let's get this doco out. Let's do this. Let's do that. So I feel that I've got to pull back and find more fun, because I'm getting more serious and back into work mode, and that's got to stop. I think it's a big lesson.
Yeah. Okay, so 9 months after you didn't have to have the chemo, the radiation, did you have to have the lump taken out?
I did in the first couple of weeks, so I got it out as soon as possible when I found the lump. Yeah.
Yeah, right. And you said that you realized this was a bit of a kick up the bum because you put out there the person you wanted to be and you weren't doing all those things, and now you are. Did you delve into more of the emotional aspects? And yeah, again, a little bit like the question I asked you with the narcolepsy is, what do you think triggered this? Is it that you weren't being who you want to be?
I don't know. It's a good question. I don't think I've dived into the emotion enough. I did have a couple of healings because I wanted to work on that, but it hasn't been something that has come to the surface, and maybe there's probably more. There's always more work to do. And yeah, I don't know. It's a good question.
Okay. So do you mind if I share with you
Go for it.
the whole breast area and also just the left-sided stuff that's going on? So I love to hear people's stories, and it usually ties in for me. So I just encourage you to listen to the words, see if you get any sensation in your body or any memories. And I'd love to just hear if you resonate with any of it.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we hear things and it's like, yeah, okay, your body hears it, but you can't intellectualize it just yet. And then it might drop in months or years down the track, hopefully earlier. Okay, so first of all, because a lot of people ask me, what does cancer mean? And to me, it's not about the cancer. It's all about the location in the body that's affected. And so if we look at the breast area as a whole, it's across that heart space, the heart chakra area, which governs emotions around love. So mainly giving and receiving of love. So the ability to give it, but also the ability to receive it. It also has to do with unconditional love and conditional love. So usually we expect unconditional love from our parents, and the majority of the time they do unconditionally love us in their way, but it's not always in the way that we wanted to receive it. And sometimes it's the fact that we don't speak up and say we want otherwise. And for parents, a lot of the time they parent the way that they wanted to be parented, the way that they missed out, or the way they were taught. And the conditional love piece can be that, well, to get your love, I have to do this. I have to clean the house. I have to get good grades. I have to perform in my job. And sometimes that overachieving can be rooted down in, well, this is how I get approval and love from my parents. Has to do with nourishment and nurturing. So again, the ability to receive it and how much you give out to others. So sometimes it can be, you just love on other people so much to the point where maybe it's a little bit smothering for them. And then if we go into, so love, connection, the feeling of connection and belonging, and then going into the more negative but normal emotions that people experience is resentment, sense of betrayal, jealousy comes up as well. And there's usually a strong tie in with the hip and pelvis area if you've got anything going on there. So that's sacral chakra, which governs those emotions around the relationships that we have in our life. So most people think, oh, my intimate relationship, but this is relationships with your family, extended family, your work colleagues, your past relationships. So I often say it's things like affairs that can come up or relationships that end that you weren't expecting to end the way they did. And then even just like the dynamics of your current relationship and friendships around you as well. So it's a little bit more that I wanted to say on that. But first, does any of that kind of tweak any memories or any sensations in your body?
The thoughts that came into mind, definitely the receiving and giving. I know that I can, like, I give animals, like I almost smother them, because we do animal rescue. And so animals, I find that's where I send a lot of my love. With clients, I sometimes am over, giving to, want to make sure they're okay and make sure, and intuitively picking up if there's something going on, which is good and bad because of boundaries. But I think, and receiving, sometimes I find it hard to receive because I'm like always wanting to give. And then I find it hard to lay back and it's like, okay, you have a massage. And it took me a long time to even start having massages, or, I probably only had one facial in my life. It's just, I find stopping and allowing that it's tough.
Yeah. So. And so that brings me into, there's a little bit of the anger piece that you talked about that comes into play, but the whole left side of your body with the narcolepsy, and maybe, the narcolepsy is one piece and then the breast cancer is another piece. So you were saying that everything affects the left side of your body. And with the breast cancer piece, the left side of your body is the feminine. And so a lot of people go, well, what issues do you have with females in your life? But it's that feminine energy, which is about your intuition, your creativity, and your emotional expression, which you said, it's something that you're perhaps working on, but it's trusting your intuition, which it sounds like you do, but what is your creative expression? And it's maybe going with those crazy ideas, which it also seems like you do. Maybe there's more crazy ideas in there.
There is lots more, and I don't think they do that enough. The spontaneity is what I'd love to do more of.
Yeah. And then it's also, you said that you've got this ability to go, and, go on all those uppers as well. And that almost like the collapsing and that left side of your body, it's like the checkout. We can't do it anymore. You're not listening. Maybe you've got a bunch of other ailments, but you're just really good at suppressing them. And then your body literally has to paralyze itself for you to stop. And so what I'm really passionate about is getting you to listen to your body and trying to not wait till you reach crisis point where you're forced to stop. And so feminine energy is the opposite of masculine. So masculine is the doing, the drive, the career, the analytical processing brain. And then your feminine energy is about that intuition, slowing down, creativity, emotional expression, the doing nothing. Sometimes it's going for a walk without a purpose, not to lose weight or get fit or
oh
to
my
get
God,
to a destination. And it's so uncomfortable. It's quite often when we do that. I mean, it's uncomfortable having something like breast cancer, right? That you have to work with, or being paralyzed. But there is another level of discomfort when you just stop being busy. And so, I love that you say that you note that you need to be careful about things ramping up and maybe looking at how you manage your time and the clients that you work with as well, to make sure that they're really the right fit too. And then anger. And this is where, have you heard of Gabor Mate?
No.
Oh, okay. So he has a book called When the Body Says No.
Mm-hmm.
I have not listened to the whole thing, but he talks about the kind of underlying themes of people with certain conditions. And he talks about ALS, the motor neuron disease, but he also talks about breast cancer and how one of the common traits that they have is around anger, usually suppressed anger.
Interesting. Okay,
Yeah.
better scream in that car soon then.
Yes. And access that anger, like it can be really scary, but amazing insights can come out of it as well.
I find because I've been going to the gym now, of course, that's going, and I go boxing 5 times a week. It's like that almost, I love going because it's an outlet.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. Maybe that is my anger outlet, but maybe, but the voice, I think, has a power in it. The voice, when you release something there.
Yeah. Oh, I'm a big fan of verbal dialogue. So actually speaking out loud, because some people say, well, I journal. I'm like, okay, well, read out what you wrote in your journal as well. And sometimes like we get scared that the anger is going to be there for months, but most of the time it's not there for that long. But yeah, it may be that you can access this on your own, or it is that you can facilitate it with someone. But I mean, what I shared with you is more just creating the awareness. And if you feel sensation in your body or memories come up, it's usually, okay, they might seem like they're not linked, but go and explore them. And then it's usually through a dialogue process and allowing it all to come up.
Love it. That's really interesting. Thank you.
Well, thanks for listening and being open to it. What else do you want to share about maybe your health journeys?
What else? I feel that I just see that more and more how disconnected. I mean, I never thought I was connected to nature, but I just think going back into nature, and actually I do a lot of calls outside. I walk around on the grass, and just the more I learn about, rocks, like again, one of our clients shared this beautiful technique of, if you've got anger or if you've got something, to give it to the rock, like to breathe it give it to the rock. Or you're standing next to a tree and you're giving the energy to the tree, because the trees can handle it, whatever you're going on with, you actually intentionally giving it to things out there is a really good release. And I find that incredibly, just it shifts something when you do that, connecting more with nature instead of being away from nature, which I don't think most people know even what type of grass they have in their backyard, or what kind of dirt they have, or what plants are in their backyard.
Yeah. Did you discover anything else about yourself?
Just that I love being in nature more. And just the animal side, there's a huge part of me that wants to do more animal communication and more connection with animals, but I also stop it. The second guessing of that, happens a lot. As far as health, I've always felt really healthy, and that's the funny thing. I'm like, I've got these things here, but I've always felt like I don't get colds, I don't get sick, and I feel generally better than I've ever felt.
So tell us, how does this lead into the work that you do and the involvement of it?
You mean just the health story? And well, I feel that especially when I was going through the cancer, I decided to share it on video on social media. And it was something that I thought a lot about, because one, I want to leave an empowering message, but I also I didn't want it to have a hold on me. There was it's freedom around sharing. And so what I found was, just by sharing whatever you're going through, I did one take, it just flowed. And I found that I got so many messages. People were warning me not to do it because of the flack they've received. But I found it the opposite. I found that what happened from sharing my story was that so many people were like, oh my God, I needed to hear that. Or can you help me with your story? Or can you help me with what you did? And it was not about medical advice. It was just, this is what I'm dealing with. This is how I'm dealing with it. And I wanted to share another perspective, because there aren't many people talking about different perspectives that are going through it in a different way.
Yeah. And
that teaches my clients to step out too. So that's leading from example.
Yeah. So you help people speak on camera.
Yeah. So we help businesses grow. It's the holistic look at the business. So if someone comes to us, it's like, okay, what's your big impact that you want to make in the world? And how do you want to grow your business? And we look at the pieces of the puzzle. That video is going to either save them time, it's going to help them amplify their message. And we come into a lot of companies to help them be able to outsource and completely videofy their business, if that makes sense.
What are the biggest blocks that people have that, makes them reach out to someone like you?
Look, a lot of them are invisible. A lot of people we work with are really good at what they do. They might be in their space for 20, 30 years, and they're starting to feel like, my God, there's all these people out there doing videos and they're so good, but they don't know what they're talking about. The knowledge is not there. The life experience isn't there to share. So that's where we come on board and we help them to just see how amazing they are and just start to really connect with their message and what they're here to do, and help them to make really great content in-house that they're proud of, so that they can keep doing it consistently.
How do you do that with people?
Well, we've got online academy. We teach live, which is part of that. We have little games and things when we have our live 3-day events. People don't just sit there and listen to us. They actually go out and do adventures with gear and cameras so that they can use it, be comfortable with it. And then when they get home, they're not like, oh, how do I connect that microphone? It's not about the gear. That's an objection or excuse. It's just helping them to be bigger, helping them to get out there and also make great content they're proud of, because there's so much boring rubbish out there. There is.
So what is your dream for these people and your business?
Well, my dream for them is to feel beautiful, to look at themselves and shift into that person they want to be, and start to be leaders just in their own way. I see the future of marketing being documentaries, and that's why I'm very passionate about finishing mine, because I see big leaders have documentaries. When you look at musicians and people that are out there, you see documentaries. And that's really a movement that I want to lead. Business owners creating documentaries that make a big difference and a ripple effect.
Wow. Yeah, I guess it's them realizing that they do have the knowledge and a message to share.
And it's a documentary is a serious piece of work. It used to be books, but now it will be documentaries.
How can people find you?
Well, they can find me on Girl Director, girldirector.com, or come and find me on Facebook, Girl Director there, or they can reach out on anywhere they can find me. Rachel Dunn, Girl Director, you'll find me.
Do you only work with females, or do you work with males as well?
We work with males too. We've got some incredible men in our community. Girl Director came from when I was a freelancer and created this brand that I could hide behind. And now it's just, we do mostly work with women, because women are the ones that they are very much keeping themselves unseen, and they don't like the tech. Whereas guys are like, yep, got that sorted. So if guys are very open to coaching, want to get out there and want that nurturing and powerful space, then absolutely we've got a space for them.
And is it just you on your own, or is your partner involved as well?
No, Michael and I, we've been in the business. So we've really been together for 18 years, and he decided to be in Girl Director, which was a huge thing for him. But we work as a couple in business, in life, and in creating our reality and our dreams. And he's got huge visions too. So we work together, and we're just so excited about what we've created from scratch together. So I wouldn't be able to do it without him.
Amazing. Good teamwork.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks for sharing your story with us today, and can't wait for your documentary to come out.
Me either. Thank you so much for having me. I hope it's inspired some people out there.